Okay, hi everybody. My name is Michelle, and I am a graphic designer, self-taught. I just kind of have an artistic background. I've done rubber stamping, scrapbooking, painting. I just kind of like artistic things. My mom was a painter, so kind of like doing stuff like that. This is my very first video, so be nice. I just thought I would start by doing some really basic beginner Photoshop tutorials. So these are for beginners. Advanced users will find these probably pretty boring. So just want to put that out there right away because I don't want anybody to think that these are advanced tutorials or anything, because they're not. They're for people who are just getting used to or just starting with Photoshop, or just wanting to learn how to make some designs, some t-shirt designs, or whatever kind of graphic designs you want. The tutorials I'm gonna try to upload every Monday. And they probably will get progressively more advanced, but they're going to stay basic no matter what, probably. We'll see what happens. We'll see what this channel morphs into. But be sure to subscribe and click on the little bell so you can get notified every time I upload. And like I said, I am going to try to do it every Monday. So just to get things started, this is Photoshop. And I am using, let's go to, I am on CS5. Okay, version 12.0. Okay, so if your version's a little bit different, things could be a little bit different, but what I've found is that for the most part, they're pretty much the same. So if yours doesn't look exactly like this, you probably should be able to figure it out, because it's going to be really close. So just to set up the screen a little bit, I've got character over here. I've got paragraph, which is really one of my favorites. And I'll show you how to get those here in just a second. But I use this one a lot. Mask, I think that was just kind of on there, and adjustments. But paragraph and character are pretty much, paragraph's pretty much the one I use the most. But whatever you want over here, you just go to window and then you just click on, see how layers is this down here, layers, channels, and paths. And there's nothing in there right now, but there will be, and so I'll go over that again. But you just go to window, see how I have paragraph checked. So that's how I got that. So, and then your little sidebar here may or may not look exactly like this, but it should be pretty close. And these ones here with the arrows, that means, let me see, okay, I'm apparently not getting it. Okay, there we go. That means there's something else underneath there. So if you see a photo bucket on mine, but yours has this square, just click on it, and then you should be able to change it. So same thing with anything that has the little arrow next to it, which you can see pretty much all of them do. This is the main arrow key right here. This, the move tool, and you'll probably hear my computer ding a lot. And that's because I'm not on this tool right here. But I'll point that out if that happens. So here's some different little things. So if yours doesn't look exactly like this, click on it and see if maybe you just have a different option checked. So if you can't find what I have, just try to keep that in mind. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to show you the project we're going to do today. And it's very simple, but like I said, this is for beginners. So we're going to go to File, and we're going to go to Open. And I'll show you how to do a new as well, because I'm not going to do it off of the one I open. I'm going to start a new one as well. Okay, so I'm going to go to Open and go to the file, wherever you have your files. Oh, shouldn't have done that. Okay, well, now I messed that up, but that's all right. So we'll just go to libraries. I know where they are, at least I think I do. All right. Change that so I can actually see them. Okay. So we're going to do I don't know why this isn't loading properly, but oh, we're doing this one here. Okay. So I'm just going to click Open. Okay, so this is the design that we're going to do today. Okay, so now you see that things popped up over here because I have this already done. Because I have other designs in here as well. So you can turn them on by clicking this little eyeball here, or off by turning the little eyeball off. Okay? So, and then now the channels showed up, and okay, still nothing under paths. Okay. But now you can see things showed up in the layers channel, because each layer you can manipulate. Okay, so like I said, this is a very basic design. It's basically just text. Okay, so to get started, we're going to go to File, and then we're going to go to New. Okay, so right here, you really want to set this up correctly in the first place. So you really want to know what you're doing. If you're just messing around, if you're just trying to figure this out, then none of this really matters. But if you're actually going to print on, a t-shirt or some wall art or whatever it is that you're going to print on, then you're going to want to know what size you need. So I have some presets here. Okay, so this one here is for Redbubble, and it's 30 by 30, and that's because, and 350 resolution, and that's because that's what works for Redbubble. Okay, so, but we're not doing this for Redbubble, so we're going to make a new preset for Print Tech. Okay, and then, so for Print Tech though, they want pixels, and they prefer 2800 by 3200, and they only require 300, so we'll go ahead and do that. I do like to do 350, but we can do this. But the reason you want to set this up properly is because if you make your design too small and then you go to upload it onto, you know, the website or whoever you're getting to print your t-shirts, or if you email them or the design or whatever it might be, and it's too small, if they have to try to make it bigger, it'll probably distort, and then this resolution, it won't be 300 anymore. So you should really research what size you need first. If you don't know, just go big. But now sometimes too big, they'll say it's too big, but at least that's better, because when something's small and you try to make it big, that's harder. But you do want to try to get it as close as you can as possible. And then I leave the background transparent for doing photos or for doing t-shirts, but you can do a different color if you want. But we're going to leave it transparent. And then since we're setting up a new preset, we're going to save preset. And then preset name. And then just whatever is clicked there. And then, so we save the preset, and then we're going to click OK. Okay, so here's our new canvas. So we're doing today black lettering. If we were doing white lettering, I would probably fill this in with a color just so that I can see it, and then I would turn the background off, and we might do that. So let's get started. So we're going to go right here to the text tool, and we're just going to click on it, and you see you can type different ways, but we're just going to do horizontal for right now. And we are just going to type I, and it's in white, but I'll show you how to change it, M-A. Okay, so then we're going to hit this little checkbox here. I believe you can, no, you have, okay, so we're going to hit the checkbox. We're going to click on this little T here, and we're going to make sure we're on the move tool, and then we can double click on this if we want. And then we're going to pick the color that we want, and you can see you can pick whatever color you want. I would suggest Googling the RGB scale, and then you can, get better colors if you want. But if it doesn't really matter, then you just pick whatever you want. So we're just going to do black. So black is always 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. But you can just push it all the way down in the corner, just like red or white, I'm sorry, is all the way up in that corner. So we're just going to do black. We're going to push OK. Okay, so as you can see on this one here, the IMA is sideways. So we're going to make sure we're on our move tool here. We're going to push Control T, and I'm not an expert at Apple, so I don't know, but I think it's Command T. So you can do it one of two ways. You can see how when I went to the corner, it turned the little arrow there into a little curve, because that means I can turn it. Okay, but then you see up here, see I turned it 15.7 degrees. So if that's all I wanted to do, say I wanted to put it right there, then that's all I needed to do. I'm done. Okay, so we're going to push Control T again. And actually we're going to push Control Alt Z. Control Alt Z, and then that takes me back to where I was. Okay, then Control T, because I want to go all the way around. So 90, that didn't work. So we're going to do negative 90, and then that worked. So, you know, if you're not just going 90 or 45 and you don't know the number, you can either just turn it by hand, or you can just play with these numbers until you get it the way you want it. Okay, so then I'm going to push the check mark. You always have to kind of check the check mark. So, if I double click on this, it will bring me up to my font. So I can change the font, but this is the font I'm using. I can change, this particular font doesn't have one. Let me see. Okay, so this one here, see, I can change it to italic or bold if that particular font has those options. Okay, so now there's two ways that I can make this look like this. I can either change the font size, and I can type in, you know, whatever number I want. Obviously that's, you know, too big, and that's a little too small. So I can do that if I want to, and that's a good way to do it. But I can also do Control T and then get the arrow on the corner like this, and then you want to hold Shift, and then I can size it to whatever size I want. Okay, if I don't hold Shift, then I risk distorting it. See how I can go up and down, up and down? So I'm going to push the X button so I don't get that. But if I hold the Shift button, see, I can't do that. I can only go in and out, you know, width and length, both at the same time proportionally. So that's what you're going to want to do 99% of the time. So I can stretch this out a little bit. See, that doesn't look too bad. So that I'm okay with. But sometimes, like that, obviously, doesn't look good. So that's why you really want to hold that Shift button, because otherwise you would distort it and it just wouldn't look right. But like I said, some fonts, you know, you can either make them a little smaller or a little fatter, and they're okay if you only do it a little bit. So, you know, you can just play with it and see what happens. Okay, so now we're gonna write the survivor part, and I have it all, I have it in 3 different sections here. So we're going to go to the type tool and type out SUR. Okay, Control T. Actually, I'm going to type it all out and then I'll adjust it. B. And then OR. Okay, because see, I made them all like in a square. Let me hide these real quick and show you what would happen. Okay, so if I did it this way, and I put it on center, see how it, you know, goes in. So let's see. So that's why I did it separate. Okay. So we'll turn all of those back on, and I'll just turn this one off. And just a side note, just so you know, if you right click on the little eyeball, you can either do hide this layer, or you can do show hide all other layers. So if I was to click that one, it would hide everything but that layer. So if you had like 20, 30 layers and you just wanted to see this one, you wouldn't have to click every single one. So just so you know that. So you right click and then you click whatever option you want there. Okay, so let's spread these a little bit apart, and then so I'm on my move tool. So if you can't get your item to move, you need to be on the move tool and you need to be on the correct layer. Like if I went to go hold my mouse over this VIV, it's not gonna move because I'm on the OR. So I have to make sure I'm on the right layer and on the pick tool, on the move tool, sorry. Okay, so let's start with this one. I'm going to Control T, Shift, spread this out a little bit. Get this first one pretty much where I want it. So then, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my mouse on the move tool and I'm going to click, left click, and I'm gonna pull this line down right here. And I'm gonna lay it right on top of that A. Okay, so then that way I can line up this first part of Survivor with the A. And so what I did was I just used my arrow keys. And that's useful when you just want to nudge it just a little bit. Okay, so now we're going to go to the second part here. Control T, Shift, and we're going to spread this out a little bit. Okay, so then we're going to take a line and we're going to pull it from this side and we're going to put it right on that S. And then we're going to take another line, left click, and pull and drag, hold it, and then we're going to put it on the R there. Okay, so then we're on our tool here, Control T. I'm going to move this up. See how when I moved it up with my mouse, it kind of went a little wonky? That's why using the arrow keys to move it into the exact place is helpful. So I'm just going to fix this a little bit. Just give it a little adjustment. I'm going to click on this one here just for a second. I'm going to put the box right on these lines just so that when I go to line up the others, they're exact. Okay, Control T, Shift. See how the line turns red when I get it exactly on there? Okay. Push the check button. Now we'll go down to the OR, Control T. Now this one, I got it on the right there, or on the left side with the red line there. But this one, if I hit Shift and go to the red line, that's way too big. So this one we are going to have to squeeze it just a little. We don't want to do it too much because then it's not going to look right with the other letters. Because if it was, you know, like that, that's not going to look right. Okay, so we do want it to be probably at least right there. So since we're at the bottom there, we're going to click on the survivor layer. We're going to hold the shift button, click on the middle part there, and then we're going to just use our arrow keys. And we're going to move this up a little bit. And that's so that this bottom part can fit as well. Okay, I'm just gonna check the height here. Yeah, that's really good. Okay, so Control T again to get our little box. Click the check mark. And all of that looks good. I'm gonna take this, click on the IMA layer, and just use my arrow keys there. And then I can move this out of the way if I want, since I don't need it anymore. But if you, okay, so I'm gonna move these out of the way here for just a second. So if you wanted it to be in the center though, like I didn't need mine to be in the center, but if you did, you would go to View, you would go to New Guide, and then in this little box here, you would type in 50%, and you can either do it horizontal or vertical, and then click OK, and then that's right in the middle. So if you needed your design to be exactly in the middle, which I don't because I have this side text here. Now, if I didn't have the side text, I would use this guideline. Okay, and then if you wanted to look at it without that, you can go to View and Extras and uncheck that, and then all those blue lines go away so that it's not obscuring what you're looking at. So, but then if you need them back, you just push View and click on Extras again. Okay, so now, I mean, that's it. There's your design. We're gonna add the pink ribbon, but I mean, there you go. That's a simple design. So now we're going to add the ribbon. So we're going to go to File and Place, and then we're going to find the pink ribbon right here, and we're going to push Place. Okay, so as you can see, it's kind of behind things, but we're going to go ahead and push the check mark. But see, you can see it's in the back. We don't want it in the back. So you take your layer and you left click and you hold and you drag. And you either drag it up or you drag it down. Maybe you do want it in the back. So the lower layers are in the back. The top layers are in the front. So you can do, whatever you need. So in this instance, we need it to be in the front. Okay, so we're gonna push Control T because it's a little too big. We're gonna hold the shift. We're gonna get this down a little bit. And then, you decide. You decide where you want it. If you only want it the size of the eye, great. If you want it, bigger, if you want it to carry over on the OR, whatever you want there. But what we're gonna do is, I'm also gonna show you how to change this a little bit. So I'm gonna go ahead and right click and show hide all other layers, and that way we just have this layer here. I'm going to push my Alt button and I'm going to scroll with my mouse. I guess if you don't have a, I guess all mouses do nowadays, but have the little roller ball. Okay, so there's a couple of ways you can do this, but for this particular image, since it's just a solid image, we're just going to use the paintbrush. So the first thing we're going to do though is go to this eyedropper tool. We're going to left click on it, and then we're going to click on it, and as you noticed, my little white bar now changed pink. Okay, so now we're going to go to the brush tool. We're just going to click on it, and then up here you can do different things. You can get different brushes. This is where all the different shapes come in, and we're going to be doing a design later with a star in one of the upcoming tutorials. But right now, and sometimes you do want a brush that has a little fuzz to it, I guess, on the edge, but for this particular one, we want a hard one. Okay, so I guess it wants me to rasterize the smart object, which for t-shirts, printing, you probably don't really want to do that, but I just want to show you how to do this. Okay, so this is the size of my brush, and right now it's very, very tiny. So what you want to do is, and I guess it could be different on everybody's keyboards, but on my keyboard, right above the enter are these brackets, and they're they're like parentheses, but they have a little curve to them. And if you push the little brackets, it'll change the size of the brush. So we're just gonna add a little more pink here. Cover this in a little bit. I like the ruggedness of it, you know, the tails and stuff like that. I do like that, but I'm just kind of showing you how you can change it up a little bit if you wanted. And you can always, you know, if you wanted to put a little color, different color in it, you could do that too. Okay, and then I'm going to push the Alt and roll in again, zoom in just a little bit more, and you can kind of see these right here. I don't really want those, so I'm going to go to my eraser tool, and okay, I've got my eraser tool way too big, so I'm going to go Control Alt Z, and I'm going to lower the number. You can see the number up here, lowering by pushing those little brackets on your keyboard. Okay, so I'm just going to get rid of just a couple of those. Like I said, I like the way it tails off like that, so I don't really want to get rid of too many, but just a little bit. Okay, and I think we're good. You just play with this and, you know, get it the way you want. So now I'm going to push Alt and scroll towards me on the mouse. And we're going to go ahead and turn all this stuff back on. Okay, and then Control T, I'm going to make this just a little smaller. Move it over the eye a little bit better. Push the check mark there. And there you go. You have your design. Like I said, this is a very basic one. The next one I'm going to do, we'll probably have a couple more things in it. We're going to do the brush with the star, And then I have some coming up that will show you how to put a background into your letters, like a picture into your letters. And then I can show you also how to do a gradient to make your to change your letters into a different color. What I will show you though really quick is if you wanted to add a border, an outline to, I'm going to go back to the move tool here. If you wanted to add a border to an outline to your words here, or to the ribbon, it doesn't really matter. So I'm going to click, I'm not going to click here because that's going to, if I click here, that edits my size and font and etc. So I'm not going to click there, but I'm going to click over here a little bit to the right. If you click on that, it brings up this whole another screen. So, and then you can do all kinds of things. So like if you wanted to do a drop shadow, I'll just make this really big so you can see it. You know, you obviously wouldn't want it that big. But, and then 100%, and then you can change this. So like say you wanted it to be, well, let's say we wanted it to be pink. I would actually go here and pick that pink. And then you can change the angle. You can get it going in, you know, any direction you want. And so you can do that. You can do, you just, anytime you, like, you can check all of these, but you can't edit them unless you're actually on, unless this blue is highlighted. Okay? So, like this one here, this is the gradient, and this isn't exactly how I do it, but this is one way to do it. So you could change the colors of the text. This is one way to do it. So see, you can just do that. But if you just wanted to add an outline, you would go to stroke. And if you wanted the same pink, you would go here. If you wanted a different color, you just click on the screen. You just click on whatever. Or if you know the code, you can type it in there. And when you're doing designs and you want to keep the colors consistent, you should know the design, or the numbers, I mean. You know, keep a list or whatever for that particular design. Or you can just click on it and then see, like, because if I click here, it goes to the black, but if I click here, it goes to the pink. So if you wanted to match it, you could do that. So then push OK. And then you don't really see it. You can kind of see it barely. But then when you make this bigger, you know, you just make this bigger, smaller, whatever you want to do. And then you can, you know, do outside, inside, center. I usually just leave it on outside. There's all these different blend modes that you can try. You can change the opacity if you didn't want it to be, you know, 100%. And then, like I said, that's where you change the color. So you can do all of that. Okay, so let's leave this for a minute and I'll show you, and then you can type in numbers there if you want to. So let's leave this here for a second and I'll show you how to get it to all your other layers. So push OK. Then you're going to take your Alt and you're going to push, or you're going to left click on this one that already has this right here, FX, your effects, and you're just going to drag it up there. And see, now that outline is the same width. You don't have, you know, you don't have to guess. It's the same color. It's the same everything. So if that's what you wanted to do. Now what I would do is, if I was going to do it this way and I wanted to put a black outline across the ribbon, which this particular ribbon I don't want to, and you'll see why. But if I had a different ribbon, what I would do is push the Alt, click and drag this up here like this. Okay, now it's got a pink outline, which we don't want, right? So we double click on it and we go to the stroke and we just change the color. But then that way, everything else is the same. It's in the same position, it's the same size, everything else is the same. And see, you can kind of see, because of the tailings on this particular ribbon, this isn't something you would want to do. But like I said, if you had a different image. But now, let's say you did this and you're like, ew, I don't really like that. You can just turn it off right here. Same with any of these. And then you can turn them back on. So that is how you make a very simple design. So to save it, let's save it really fast because this is important. Because you want to do a couple of different things depending on what you're going to do with it. So go to Save As, pick your folder, and then I would save it as a Photoshop. Because then that way, if you ever wanted to come in here and change it again, you could. So if you save it as a PSD, you could open this file again, and then you could go in here and you could go and say, hey, you know what? We're gonna do, you know, I forget what teal is, but there's a cancer ribbon for teal, right? So, you know, hey, let's change it to teal. So I would do that. But then I'm gonna Control Z just to get that back. But then to save it for either your printer or whatever you're doing, you know, if you're uploading it online or whatever you're doing with it, you're gonna wanna save it as a PNG. If you save it as a PNG, what that is gonna do is it's gonna save this clear background. And that's what you want. Because if you were to put a background on this, then when you went to go put it on a shirt, you would have a square box. You don't really want that. So you want to save it as a PNG. But now, and you could send that to a customer for approval if you wanted to, but what you probably want to do is, if you're going to send it to a customer for approval, is just save it as a JPEG. And you might want to even make it a little bit smaller, because emailing or sending through text or, you know, whatever, the file will probably be a little too big. So you could size it down and send it as a JPEG. So to file it down, to size it down, you would go image size, and then you would just, you want to keep constrain and scale. You want to keep these checked so that everything scales proportionately. So see how big this file is? It's 25 megabytes. So that's probably too big to really send in an email, especially to a customer. You know, if they're just looking at it for approval, you know, you could probably cut this in half. See, now it's only 7. And then, you know, you push OK, and then there you go. So it kind of depends on what you're doing with it. If you're not sending it to a customer, then you don't need to do that. And then I can just hit Control-Z, and then that takes me back to where I was. If you're just saving it for yourself or to upload on the internet or to send to your designer, then you don't need to make it smaller. But if you're sending it to a customer for approval, then that's probably what you would want to do. All right, I hope this was a little bit of information for you, especially if you were brand new. And like I said, stay tuned, subscribe to my channel and stay tuned. And each week will be a different one, so you should learn a few things in the upcoming tutorials. Like I said, I'm going to show you how to put an image in these letters, how to do the gradients, and we're just going to learn some different things, learn how to do some brushes. So I hope that you learned at least a little something. All right, thank you and have a great day.